Welcome to Becoming, hosted by the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program. On this podcast, we interview state employees about how they adopted different mindsets that changed how they lived their lives. We hope these conversations inspire you to reflect on your own mindsets, which could help improve your overall mental health and well-being. Today, I have Meg here with me. Meg, how are you doing today?
I feel pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. So, Meg, before we get into all of this, can you tell us a little bit about the current role that you're in with the state?
Sure. I am the statewide benefits communication specialist. I joined the state, specifically joined DPA in 2018. I believe it was October. I found myself here because the previous job I had as an intern for a finance company came to a close and I needed a new position. And I was lucky enough to interview with Adrian and Annabelle, who I've worked with since. And the rest was really history. I wanted something in my field that I majored in, which was communications. And this job opening came. It was just something different, and I learned a lot about public service within my first year. I stayed with the state for almost 3 years before moving abroad to get my master's. My day-to-day consists of creating communications that are geared toward our audience, which is primarily benefit administrators across the state. I work pretty heavily on email campaigns, PowerPoint presentations. I work pretty closely with our partnered vendors, health vendors specifically, like Cigna and Kaiser. I support the employee benefits unit and their needs, and as well as the director of benefits and anything that they need. And that also encompasses the wellness manager, the statewide wellness manager, and the program State of Health. So I do a lot of different things, but really it's just to help employees understand their benefits.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So, Meg, would you say you're a word nerd?
I would say I'm a word nerd, yes. English has always been a pretty big part of my life, English and writing and everything that has to do with communications. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in college. I went to a small liberal arts college. I was undecided for the first 2 years, and then I came across a communications class, and I was like, you know what? This sounds pretty great. I think I'm really interested in this, and continued taking classes, and then I minored in English, creative writing. So
yeah, that's so cool. I have a bachelor's in English. I don't know if you knew that. So yeah, word nerds unite. Okay, Meg, what traits, what did you want to share with us today?
Yeah, I think, the trait specifically that came to mind is really creativity. That has been a big part of my life for as long as I can remember.
What's your earliest memory of when you think about creativity?
Probably anything that had to do with artwork. I don't love speaking about myself in positive ways. It feels very, conceited. But I have, and I am a very skilled artist. I think that's just something that I was gifted with. And my parents sort of noticed that and really wanted to bring that out. And I also enjoyed it. I think I love things that are creative or crafting or really anything that allows me to sort of focus on something and make it something special. So really kindergarten was probably my oldest memory. We would do show and tell projects, and I would create sort of this board that is about myself and what's interesting about me, and just, writing bubble letters, putting glitter on things. It really just was a way to kind of express myself, but also I was strange. I liked painting inside the lines. I liked things that were realistic and also orderly. And so I'm creative, but in a way, I also think that because I'm a skilled illustrator and artist, I have to bring a sort of realism to my work. And so that's always also been something I've struggled with, because creativity to me is really painting outside the lines, but at the same time, for me, it's always been keeping things as realistic as possible.
Besides kinder and the art that you were always so interested in, Were there any other moments throughout your life that kind of helped you understand the importance of creativity and like its value?
I'm a perfectionist, and I sympathize with any other perfectionists out there because it's very difficult sometimes. Growing up, I think I really had high standards. I wanted to push myself. So not only was I an artist, but I played sports. I played soccer. I went to college playing soccer, and I was a really good student. I wanted to exceed and stay open-minded, but really push myself and sort of raise my standards. Like I know we talked about staying within the lines, and that's where my struggle was. But I think creatively, it sort of was a blessing in disguise because you can't always get by with just staying in the lines. You really do have to be open-minded and accept things as they come. And I think there is an element of that with creativity of adjusting and adapting to change and things that come your way. And, one example is probably the pandemic. We were all in quarantine, and a lot of us were feeling stuck and didn't know what to do. Crazy enough, I thought it would be a good idea to apply for a creative writing program in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and
So hold on, pandemic hits. And you're like,
hits.
I'm getting out, I'm going to Scotland,
Exactly.
apply. Okay.
Yes. I know it's not necessarily a solution to the problem, but I think for me, it felt like a lot of doors closed, but there was one window that was open.
And I feel like you're speaking to that thing that you were mentioning where you see the lines, but you want to go beyond the lines.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Yes, that's a perfect example because it is. It's easy to stay within the boundaries, but some amazing things happen when you actually step outside of them.
What made it worth it?
I think being outside of my comfort zone, but really tapping into my creative headspace. I don't think it's every day that people really get to sit down and do something that they're passionate about. I love drawing, and I'm skilled at it. But I think with writing, it's been, since I was a kid, I would write stories. Since I was in second grade, I would write excerpts to novels that I would think would be published. And they would be random and wouldn't make a lot of sense, but the characters were there and the stories were there. And I think that's what always drew me to writing. I love telling stories. I love reading stories. And it's all about that connection, right? Like with creativity, I think there's something so special about connecting with others. That's why people are creative. It touches somebody. It reaches somebody.
What role does creativity play in your mental health and emotional well-being these days?
I think writing has always been really cathartic for me. It's something I do for regulating my emotions. It's also something I do to disassociate or really even just work on even crafting things like I'm going to sound like grandma, but I love crocheting and I love needle pointing and I love doing things that require attention to detail. But I like listening to things in the background. Like when I draw, I like listening to podcasts, or if I'm in a headspace where I want some good music vibes, I'll just put on a playlist, but it has to be the right playlist for the right headspace. And I know you're shaking your head. I know you know exactly what I mean. Life is heavy, and there's a lot that is going on and a lot that everyone is going through. And I think for me personally, it's grounding. It sort of just brings me back to I'm here, I'm focused, I'm alive, I'm producing work, and it feels good.
What I love about what you're sharing is it sounds like creativity for you, it's like sometimes you pour the creativity into something and that's helpful. Mm-hmm. And other times you're absorbing creativity and mm-hmm. that is sort of like this balancing act for you.
Definitely.
That you kind of got going on. Is that right?
That's definitely right.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think like a lot of creativity also promotes growth, because a lot of what you're sharing sounds like simply because you are a creative person and you value creativity, it's led you to so much growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you could explain the importance of these traits to a child, creativity, What would you say? How would you explain that?
Well, I would say embrace it. I think be open to it. And also creativity it might seem personal at some level, but I do find creativity to be very collaborative. I think that's something I
Can you give examples?
Yes. Well, for instance, any project I feel like I've ever done, maybe aside from my own personal artwork, but even that has been some element of collaboration. For instance, I didn't get the skills that I have now without looking at a bunch of how to draw illustration books.
Yeah.
You know, here's how to do a face.
Yeah,
Here's
I
how to
remember
do, right? And so, but even with my creative writing master's classes, I think we had to have peer reviews. We had to have, we had classes where we would put up people's stories and criticize them together. Luckily, they were anonymous. Oh, actually, no, they weren't even anonymous. The teacher was like, this is Meg's. I remember that so clearly. Creativity is really a mesh of ideas that you are taking and then putting your own personalized spin on.
It's a remix.
Yes, a remix. That's perfect. It's a remix. And everything that has come to life that you know to be true today really has been a remix. There's some amazing things that people have created, but they didn't do it alone. And if they say they did, they're lying. They're lying. Yeah, it is not true.
You're kind of signaling to this idea that at the core, creativity really is community. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's a beautiful way to look at creativity. To be creative means to be in community with friends, with family, with fellow students in a program, with coworkers. Can you think of moments where in your current role you used your creativity to do your job?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember before the pandemic when we were working on taglines. We were just doing a classic brainstorm. It feels so out of touch because technology is so wild these days, but it was just on like a poster board with an easel.
Yeah.
And we...
Back to kindergarten we go.
Exactly. Like we were just doing like a brainstorm cloud and thinking of taglines. I think it was we were rebranding maybe for benefits and the benefit guide. And then also just creating templates and language around ideas that might seem mundane or kind of dry, but they're really not dry because like we were talking about, it's all about community. This is the community of the state, the benefit administrators. One of the things I love about working with BAs is that every one of them is at an agency that has a completely different community. All of their employees are different, so the communications that we build have to be able to reach various employees. But that's what I love about this job. I think it's really special, and I think that at the end of the day, we're really just trying to help our community and help state employees and help them be covered and protected because health insurance is a scary thing these days, and I think we have great plans, and I'm really excited to educate them on them.
Yeah, we love it. I think everyone can use more education on their plans and what they're eligible for, you know, so that's really important stuff. So Meg, to kind of wrap us up here, do you have any final insights that you might want to share with anyone who's listening?
Final insights. I feel like this has to be really, really profound.
This is the dismount.
We'll see if I stick it. I am going to keep it simple and just say that creativity really isn't about being original. I do think it's about community. I think it's about collaboration, and also don't be afraid to just paint outside the lines once in a while. Creativity feels really, really personal for a reason. Everyone has different skills. Everyone expresses creativity in a very different way. But there are so many people that your mind will touch, that will affect. Like, I think whatever you're working on producing, whatever your job is, just know that does make a difference.
A difference indeed. Meg, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. I know that your stories about creativity are going to inspire state employees to find their own creativity as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Meta. It's been a pleasure.